Namaste, sir. So you are not audible, sir.
Oh, okay. Can you
Now,
hear me now?
yes, sir. Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You said okay, Jayashri,
Yes.
not Jayashri. Okay, when I'll said it. Okay. Okay.
Jai Gurudev Raghuram ji.
Jai Gurudev,
I'm
Jayashri.
sorry I could not attend.
Yeah.
I have some work at home.
I think we should
Namaste,
start.
Raghuram.
Namaste. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunattu
Sir,
Sahaviryam Karava. Yes.
Tejas,
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति
Shanti, Shanti.
नमस्ते We had such vast literature. The literature came up because that there were a lot of questioning was encouraged in this particular culture. And people have developed so much of ideas and all that in this literature. So that this culture had so much of knowledge. The knowledge is called as Veda. So with is knowing. So from that it comes to as Veda. So one who knows about all these things, digested that, the practice, they are supposed to be Vyasas. Therefore, set of Vyasas that they together, they created these four Vedas. Northeast and northwest is the Rig Veda, north is the Ajurveda, north east is the Samaveda, central and south is the Atharva Veda. The culture that was there has been recorded in these Vedas. And even till today, you can see that the same culture continues in these places. Because basically what happens is that the description of Saraswati River, etc., comes in the Yajurveda, connected with Himalayas. And then second thing is that, art and architecture, all those things connected to Samaveda. In fact, Samaveda basis for the music, Samaveda music basis for the art. So you can see even till today that from Odisha onwards, you go all the way in the north, in the northeast, like for example, Manipur and Thailand, Bangkok and all that. When you go, you see that art forms are the different varieties of art. So much they give the respect for the art forms in those places that when we went to Bali, every house is like a temple. They have nice, beautiful stone carvings, as if they have given the entrance to the temple. And every house that they do the puja and then put the things outside. And much more than what we do in India, they adhere to these things. And there's another thing also, the art and all these things are connected with the feminine form. So that's why there it is the Devi temples are there. You can see everywhere Devi temples. That is what their, Kamakya supposed to be Devi temple. All that area is in that way, in the Devi concept that is there. Not only that, the Shaivas is in the north part of it. Bhairava is the central part of it, whereas Shakta, tantric practices are there in the northeastern part. So therefore, that it's connected with art, connected with that place, it's something which is understandable. So all these things that you could see, that in this way, unfortunately, people make these things as mystic way. Like, for example, people have a divine has presented this. I said it's a very beautiful recording that they kept of the culture. Mystic way they said it because that they didn't want to connect it with the people, connected with the day-to-day life. Similarly, Central and South is responsible for all those mathematics and this and that development. That's why you could see that almost all the people in the field of economy, accounts, and all that, all over the country, they are from South India. Like whether it is Chidambaram, whether it is Subramaniam, you see any name is connected with the South India. That shows that this is a bed of all that thinking that was there. So therefore, that the Vedas belong to this place, it's a recording of this place. And when you look at that way, that has a recording of this place of over 5,000-6,000 years old, you can say that 5,000-6,000 years ago, how much of development has taken place in this particular Sanatana Dharma. All this was there. And essentially, there are two parts. One is that what is there in the form of the peripheral activity. That means to say you have to live. And we develop the architecture, develop the rituals, we develop all these things which are peripheral activities. This is what is called as the karma kanda. Karma means activity. And there you can see the elaborate way of presenting how to produce the fire, this Arani, the whole Vidya that is to be developed. All those things you can see that Vedas give these things. But then they're only about the material world, that tilling the land, producing the various things, all those things are given in that. But all these things are supposed to be peripheral activity for us to live. But what is the purpose of living is given in the Jnana Kanda. That means to say, this culture has a purpose to live. This is what is the core of the culture. This is what Swami Vivekananda said very clearly. And somebody asked him, what is that which is the secret because of which this culture survived for several thousands of years? He said every culture has a core. And based on that core, you can recognize how that culture survived for such a long time. So therefore, when we look at that way, what Vivekananda said in one sentence, when you look at outside, you can see that how various cultures have that core. Like, for example, if you go to Europe, France and Italy and all that, you see that the beauty is the culture there, core of the culture. That's why all the, the fashion shows, this, that, and everything happens in France and Italy and all that. Similarly, when you go to England, the whole core culture is about the regality, about the royal. That's why there you see Trafalgar Square, Buckingham Palace, this palace, that palace, everything is in that way. Not only that, their postal services, Majesty's Postal Service, and everything is connected with the regality. That's wonderful. People respect that royal. That's why the royal wedding that has taken place, the child birth in the royal place, and it was like a nation festival. So wonderful to see that because their respect for their culture. Similarly, when you go to Germany, the strength is their culture. That's why you can see German cars, German machines. They're so sturdy. It's very difficult to. That's why they have even the roads also. Autobahn, that means no upper limits, the roads. You can go at any speed, breakneck speed. You take your Suzuki there, finish. It will not even run on the road. So they produce the cars like that. You see, BMW. What is the way that the car is? You're, in fact, when I travel there in Germany, that I feel as if we are just going at a nominal speed, 50, 60 kilometers or something. When I see that it's about 180, 200 kilometers, don't even feel that. That's the beauty of it. Same thing, you go to Germany, Japan, miniature is the culture. Everything is small. We have huge mango tree, they have bonsai mango tree. So that means, and equally efficient. It produces mangoes. Everything is like that in Japan, you see that people are so short. Generally, people. They have selected their king also as a short man. So short. And I don't know how, but he also found a wife shorter than him. All that shows that miniature is the culture in Japan. America is the culture of business. They talk in terms of money only. In fact, I never realized until when I started going to USA, Oh, when USA people ask you are, what do you do? Generally moment you see the Indian face, it's software engineer. No, no, I teach yoga. Oh, yoga. It's a $4 billion business. I never thought yoga is a business. In fact, withdrawing from the business is what yoga is all about. But then that's what their language. They talk in that way. So that's their culture. Everything is their culture. Same way when you come to India, the culture is all these temples that you see. Every city you go, that there are so many temples. In fact, just before coming here, we just went round. We saw at least about 8 temples on the way, just in small little place. 8 temples were there. And these are small little temples. I mean, Meenakshi temple is a huge one. But other than that, small temples you see. So it looks like that this is what is our culture. Along with the temple, that we have the literature. And that's what is basically the Upanishad. Upanishad is the core of this particular culture. That's what is the Jnana Kanda, the knowledge. So the very fact that Jnana means that it is knowledge, knowledge you can get it only by questioning it. So therefore, in this culture, we have encouraged questions. If Jnana Kanda, our culture, if it cannot give an answer to that, why Dharma, nowhere else in the world that you can find an answer. So therefore, if you have to find an answer, Jnana Kanda will give you the answer. But the amount of literature that developed on that is so much. Why this Jnana Kanda is Upanishad? Actually, Swami Anubhavananda was saying very nice. They said that the Western people have made that as the 10 major Upanishads. Actually, there is no major or minor Upanishad. Everything is Upanishad only. And we have borrowed that idea of 10 major Upanishads because Shankara commented on that. Therefore, 10 major. They say that Shankara commented on these things, but fine. But they are not major Upanishads. Like, for example, these major Upanishads are looking for major Brahman. Minor Upanishads are looking for minor Brahman. There is nothing like that. There are some Upanishads which Shankara did not comment. But then they are such extraordinary, wonderful Upanishads. Talking about Brahman. Brahmopanishad. It talks about Brahman. But only Shankara did not comment about that. Does not mean that it is not a, or what is the Brahman that they are talking about, minor Brahman. It's nothing like that. But only thing is that these Upanishads are such extraordinary, wonderful knowledge. Only, and it's not just answering the question, but it answers the quest. That's very important. If you do not have the quest, the knowledge, you will not get it. It's like the way that it is a secret for you. Secrecy is not in the knowledge. Unfortunately, people twisted it saying that Upanishad should not be, it's a very secret knowledge. It's also known as like the Gopya Vidya, Gupta Vidya. And in fact, extended some people that into saying that it's Gupta Vidya, Gopya Vidya. So women should not read Upanishad. I mean, because women cannot keep any secret. What a nonsense it is. Actually, when you look at that Upanishad, the discussion is going on between the women saints there. Gargi discusses about that. And there is some discussions about Katyayani that is there. So all these things are there. So therefore, basically, it is not the question of that secret in the Upanishad. I mean, these days printed books are there, you can read it. But why it is called as Gupta Vidya is that if you do not have that desire to urge to learn, follow it, it is still remains as only a secret knowledge. It doesn't reveal itself. Like unless until you enter into the water, you do not know however many books that you read about swimmer. Swimming is still a Gupta knowledge. It's a secret knowledge. You don't know about it. You enter into the water, start swimming, then you see that the swimming is possible. Same way about the Brahman. Enter into it, try to experience it. Experience is very important. That's why we have such concept of experience that is there in this, which is called as the, you see, one, you get the knowledge is jnana, and then you get the knowledge is what is called as jnana. But jnana is only one level. The second level is what is called as bodha, atma bodha, tattva bodha. Bodha is something which is not only that you have not, but you have experienced it. You go beyond that. Upanishads look at that particular aspect of it. Have you experienced it? Then you can understand what the Upanishad teacher says. Otherwise, you will not understand it. Let me give a very simple example. When in the Ishavasya Upanishad, the beginning itself, it starts with the shloka, Ishavasyamidam sarvam. That means to say Ishavasyam, God, divinity is something which is Achhadaniyam. Everywhere in this world, that's what is the divinity. The Upanishad said that statement. It's just a statement, he said it. He said it out of his experience. He is sharing his experience. So it means somebody is experiencing that. But if you don't look at his experience or drawn towards experience, you say, yeah, Upanishad says everything comes from the same consciousness, and that's what is called as Brahman. Isha is Satyam Brahman. But you have no, it's only just an information. It's not beyond that. But when you really go into that, you question it, you doubt, I mean, you put yourself on foot on that, saying that this world seemed to be a horrible place in front of me. I see everywhere there is complaint, everywhere there's corruption, everywhere this, everywhere that. And this is what, for me, this world is a hell. And this is a person who says that Ishavasyam, everything is nothing but divinity. I can simply dismiss him, saying that, he's saying out of. So it has no reality for me. And I can dismiss him. A lot of people dismiss that. But then when, on the other hand, if I take it, there is the same world that he's also there. I see this world to be wonderful, I mean, horrible and full of complaints. Hundreds of complaints are there. But here is the person who says that Ishavasyam. That means to say, I am continuously experiencing in this world is a hell. And here is somebody whose experience of this world is more than heaven. Now, what happens is that makes me to see that how can I experience like the way that he is experiencing? That provides in me the urge to go for that experience, not just simply knowledge. There are few people who are urged like that to go into that. These are the people who are sadhakas. It's not just only the question, but much more than the question. That's what we call it as quest. Upanishads answer the quest. And if you look back into the actually history, the people who had that kind of a quest, earlier they were there, later also people were there, today also people are there. With that kind of a quest, they get into this thing. Like for example, earlier when we look at it from the Upanishadic time, when we go, this fellow goes to the teacher, his name is Shvetaketu, and he is with a passion, with a question that what is this? What is this reality? What's all this about? He went to the teacher doesn't even pay attention to him. When you pay attention, then only you can ask the question, but the teacher doesn't pay attention. Then he said, okay, I will serve the teacher so that I'll get attention from it. And he is doing so much of service, the teacher arranges the mat, clean the place, and all those things, serves him food. The teacher is enjoying all those things, but doesn't even ask the question to the student, why you have come, what is the reason for that? How frustrating it is. Brings the flowers, he brings this thing. It is described like that he was so passionately waiting. In fact, any moment he might die because the teacher is not paying attention, but then teacher doesn't pay attention. It's like cruelty. It was such a cruelty that of course, the animals that were there in the ashram also, they were waiting. Like for example, the deers and all that antelopes were there, they were waiting. Now there is some conversation goes on between the student and teacher, but that doesn't happen. They're also very compassionate to him. They're also feeling for him. All that was there. The birds are waiting. The description goes like that. All these things are happening, but the teacher doesn't pay any attention. Then he says that even the mat itself, when he wants to put the mat rolls by itself. Because want to make this student at least comfortable. Teacher never looks into him. Then he realizes that everything is nothing but the same consciousness, Brahman. When the moment that the student realizes that, that's the moment the teacher starts, yes, my dear student, you are that. Tattvamasi. Tvam you are. All these things that is there. And that one sentence was sufficient for the student. A clarification. But there's a lot to talk about that Tat and why he said Tat and why he said Swami. And a very simple thing. See, you are that. So it doesn't even look to be a full sentence. It is that kind of a statement. Upanishad gives this kind of a gather. And then he goes back. That's such a nice thing. Shvetaketu was enlightened. So that means how long he had been waiting for that. It was at that time, same way Pippalada is a great teacher. And then these students will go there. And Sukesha Bharadwaja, Shaibhyascha, and all those people. Students go there. And they go all the way. Actually, is the peak of a Himalaya, something like that. They go in search of him. Pippalada, great teacher. They heard about him. They went to him. He's sitting there, and then they ask him, yes, we have questions. If you have a question, then you wait for 1 year. And samvatsaram samvatsata, and then do various things. After that, when you come back after 1 year. If still you have desire, then I can tell you. Yadi vidishyamaha, then I will tell you. He doesn't even assure them that I will give an answer. Pippalada. And then they come back 1 year later. That means what must be the urge that's there in the student that is there. So it is not just much more, it is not just only the questioning, much more than questioning. Those days it happened. And then later on, you can see in case of Vivekananda, Ramana Maharshi, they had the same kind of thing. One who has to give up his house and then go away, what must be the urge that is there within him? A young boy of 14 years, 12 years, that's what is Venkataramana. Later on, that quest made him as Ramana Maharshi. That made the same kind of a quest made Siddhartha as a Gautama Buddha. That same quest made as Naren into a Vivekananda. So it is that quest that's what is very important. You want to urge. Then this Upanishad gives there. How many people will have that? Only very few people. But the few people have to come. You have to create a large amount of the culture that is there. It's like a pyramid. The pyramid has a large base. Out of the large base, 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 will come up into a next level. 1 in 1,000 will come up to the next level. So this way, when you come, finally, some people who have that urge will be at the peak. That's why this peak is supposed to be the Upanishad. And these teachers were there in various peaks. That's why there are hundreds of Upanishads are there in the Vedas. That means to say, this culture was providing that base so that people can grow up. In this base that we have all these temples, we have all these rituals, we have all these various practices that are there, which are putting man in towards this particular thing. That's why this culture can only take the people to that quest. Question itself is something which is important. Quest is so much more important. That's what Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. Manushyanam kasreshu kaschit yatatha siddhayat. Out of sahasreshu, thousands of people, kaschit yatatha, one comes up. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetit. Even out of them, only one here and there will come into that. That's what is the proportion in which the development takes place about this particular culture. But we provide that large base. Sanatana Dharma survived because that we provided that large base. You have allowed this questioning. To that degree, what kind of question that they asked? They are most fundamental questions of the human being. Like, for example, the question is, what is the basis of creation? In fact, that's a very fundamental question. Today, even the science is also worried about it. So it says that yato va imani bhutani jayante. Like that, that is there. Even Prashnopanishad also comes with the same kind of a question. Where from this creation comes? What's the base of this creation? It's a very logical, rational question that the student asks, but very naughty question. Similarly, another question that Vivekananda asked, have you seen God? See, that very question itself indicates it's about the experience. He did not ask the question to the teacher, do you know about God? If the question that you say you know about God, you can see that there are hundreds of people giving hundreds of answers, and hours of together they can find an answer. God is omnipotent, God is. These teachers also try to do that. And then Vivekananda is very clear about that. Naren was very clear. I'm not asking that. Tell me about God. I said, have you seen God? That means it's based on experience. And then he found only Ramakrishna Paramahamsa who had that answer. But even that answer, he could not take it. You see, what is that need for knowing about that is not simple. It's not like a, what is the time pass question? Have you seen God? He went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and said, have you seen God? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa replied, 3 sentences, wonderful sentence. Yes, I have seen God. There's a direct answer he gives. In fact, there cannot be any mistake in that. So he said, yes, I have seen God. The second answer he gives is much more needed because that sentence itself is complete. Is there any second sentence that's possible? That's what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives. That shows that is experience. I've seen God more clearly than I see you now. Because somebody might answer, might have seen God in the dream, might have seen God in your some inebriated state, this, that. But if there is anything like that, it is today, now I'm seeing you. But God for me is more real than you are. And the third sentence, you didn't even ask for, Thakur gives an answer saying, I can show you God. Arey, you ask for something and then something so much more. It's like the way that Rama sent to Hanuman, find out Sita. That's a simple idea. Not only he found out Sita, but he gave her assurance. He showed her what is the strength of Rama. Not only he showed to Sita what is the strength of Rama by burning part of Lanka, but he also met with, he could have come back, but he said, no, I have to see Ravan, meet Ravan. So he acted himself that he is bound by Ravan, went into the Darbar, and there Ravan says that, come on, you are a prisoner here. He said, no, I'm in a misery from Rama. I came here with a message to you. So provide me a seat. This is what, our Dr. Jayashankar said very nicely, that ambassador is somebody who should uphold the dignity of that country from which he comes. So Hanuman said that, look, I'm an ambassador here, brought the message. So provide me a seat. He said, no, you're a prisoner. No, if you don't provide seat, I will provide myself. So he provided a seat for himself higher than Ravan. He said, okay, let's discuss now. That's what that diplomacy of Hanuman. He said, it is the world's best diplomacy. He never brought down the Rama's role model. He did that. He showed that. And then he burnt Lanka. He said, if I can do that, it's easy for me. Come and get a message. All that he has given. And then came back. So that way, Ramakrishna has given the message, I can show you God. And you didn't even ask for that. And then not only that, he held his hand and started taking towards Kali temple. And then Vivekananda became nervous. He said, release his hand and said, Thakur, I'll come back tomorrow. And now I came back from the school directly. I have to go home. There's homework. My mother will be waiting. Says, okay, you can go. I didn't ask you to come. You came by yourself. But that one sentence that Thakur said at the end, saying that, I thought you are serious. It hit him so badly. The way that you came, I thought you are serious about this. No. Wanting to see God should be so strong. Somebody catches you by neck and pushes your head into the water. You gasp for breath. If you are like that, then you can see God. The earth should be there. Quest should be there. That sentence actually made Vivekananda to rethink that this man is so totally different. He is out of the world. I have to go back to him. So he started going to him. That created Vivekananda. So Upanishads do not answer the questions, but it is quest. Yeah, the highest request that they gave. Similarly, there are few questions that are there. Who am I? That's what Ramana Maharshi is creating. They're all wonderful questions that are there. Upanishad talk about. Various Upanishads talk about this, but the knowledge in the Upanishad is so difficult, so therefore we need to write them a simpler language that people can understand that. These are called as the Shruti. Shruti means what is heard. The idea is that, this knowledge is so important that unless until somebody has that experience and that feeling, when you listen to him, the kind of effect that you get, you do not get it if you read somewhere or if you watch some video, something like that. That's why, even though we had the whole knowledge developed, but then we still, this particular knowledge of Upanishads is passed on between the student teacher in the form of a dialogue. Because it was there in the form of a dialogue, it was called as Upanishad. The name Upanishad comes because that it's a dialogue. But this is a dialogue because basically that it is not the knowledge is given, but it is knowledge is made him to feel that. Urge is there. That's why this knowledge is very important, Shruti. Somebody who has developed such an extraordinary, wonderful language, you mean to say that we did not have skills to write? Unfortunately, what happened, the Western people translating it, saying that Indians did not have script writing. That's why these things were only Shruti. That means to say this verbal knowledge that was there. If you have, even you think of verbal knowledge, you mean to say that such a vast verbal knowledge could be there, unless you record it. The amount of knowledge that we have is so much. As I said, that Vedas itself is so large, and so many Upanishads are there. Apart from that, making this Upanishads simpler and all that, we have Bhagavad Gita, we have other texts who are there. In fact, we have Samhita Shastras that are there. So many, 64 Samhita Shastras are there. So where is this knowledge is all coming from? Because that we had the method of writing, method of preserving, all those things that are
Just
there.
one question comes here.
Yeah.
There's so much of literature and text and knowledge available, but still why people don't move or levitate towards that knowledge?
Because that for such a long time that people who are invaders, they attacked our knowledge in the first place. They didn't want this knowledge to come up because the knowledge is the base of this culture. So that's why we have that beautiful, the example that comes in the Puranas that is there, Matsyavatara. The very Matsyavatara came to save this knowledge, Vedas. Otherwise, somebody was destroying it, putting in the water, then Matsya came and saved the knowledge. It's a very beautiful story. But then the idea is that somebody saved this knowledge. So from that time onward, that knowledge being saved. And later on, you see that how people have thought about that. Even the Khilji time, they said, this culture we cannot destroy unless until that we destroy this knowledge behind that. That's why they burned the Nalanda library. So much of knowledge was there in the Nalanda library. 3 months and 2 times, on 2 occasions or 3 occasions, continuously burnt. After burning all those things, still whatever that is remaining is so much that we can't even know even 1% of the knowledge that's available. So much of knowledge is there, but people's attack was on that knowledge. Then this Macaulay came, and the Macaulay Max Muller group, they said that we should disconnect the knowledge from this culture. Therefore, that it is coming from, Vedas come from the East European side, otherwise we don't have, it doesn't belong to this culture, so it doesn't. Even when we were in the school, we were told there is no use in learning about Indian literature. Just go to modern literature because that's what is basically. Even today also, people say, yeah, who will give you bread and butter if you go for Vedic knowledge? In fact, I was very clearly said, you want to become a pujari? My own Sanskrit teacher said, why do you want to learn Sanskrit? You want to become a pujari? You have to become an engineer or a doctor. Your father is a doctor. So that means how this discouragement was there about this culture, even till today. And today also it is not recognized. In fact, there are some very enthusiastic Indians who are living in USA. Children, they put into this Gurukul school. Now they finished Gurukul school. Now they are looking for what is the next. What's the prospects for us? And you see how unfortunate it is. They can't go to the regular schools, and then all that they are introduced. They said interested in the Ayurveda and modern medicine. I mean, naturopathy. Ayurveda says that unless until there is a regular exam that you give in Ayurveda and all that, then only you become. So it's naturopathy. They said that you have at least to have science background, then only you give naturopathy. Even that's not possible. And we asked them to study science for 3 years more. See, where is the question of understanding about this importance of this culture? That's not there. We have not, we really have to work on that in the war footing to see that we have to bring it forward. Otherwise, people do not come for this knowledge. This is unfortunately thing that's happening. In fact, if you look at it, the importance of this, we came to know only in the last about 10 years, 15 years. Before that, 70 years we have lost. We have never encouraged any of these things, even though we had the native medicines and native these things and all those things were there. But then we did not give any value for those things. So today, slowly, it is coming back. But what must be the extraordinary capacity for it to survive that? Now, this, when you look at this, the kind of knowledge that we have, type of knowledge that we had, extraordinary, and we can say that they were extraordinary, but the science behind it, we don't have it. Like, for example, people say that we had the metallurgy, such an extraordinary, wonderful knowledge, that two metals, you cannot put them together to complement each other. They always different expansion quotients, so one disturbs the other. They mix the brittle. We had Panchaloha, we had Ashtaloha. How could we do it? See the extraordinary metallurgy capacity that they had. But today we don't understand that. Therefore, we need to really develop these things. But all this knowledge that was there, when on one side we have such an extraordinary, wonderful knowledge, written in such an extraordinary, wonderful language called as Sanskrit, even till today in Sanskrit, you can't find one iota of fault because it's such an extraordinary, wonderful structure. And everything is based on questioning. No other language you can question so boldly as you can do it in Sanskrit. Like, for example, in English, you call this table as a table. If you ask why do you call this table, they don't have an answer. Hey, it's table, but you have not answered why is it called as table. You see, chair is a chair. Why do you call this chair as a chair? In no language that you can ask this, but in Sanskrit, you can ask. Why earth is called as earth, you can question it. In English, we don't know why earth is called as earth. In English, in Sanskrit, we can ask. Dharitri. Dharaiti Dharitri. That which holds us is Dharitri. Everything is like that. Whatever that moves is supposed to be Pavana, air. So you can really question everything in the Sanskrit. When you can question all these things in Sanskrit, that gives you freedom. It does not shy away from questioning. The mean is that it shies away questioning from the questions we ask, that why we do these practices of Dharma. It should be answering that. Only thing is our people never thought about it. That's why our people just said that you believe. I said, my father said, my parents said that we did it. We say, you do it. So this is how it goes on. Whereas you can question anything and everything. So that's the reason why I said that these things. And then people try to answer you so many different ways. They may not be the way that today you are asking the questions, but they answered their own way. That's why we have so much of literature that is there. So much of literature there. In fact, not only this literature, how beautifully we have organized this questioning is, the questioning is supposed to be the Nyaya Shastra. Nyaya means that, in fact, the Nyaya Shastra, people call it jurisprudence, but it is not jurisprudence. It is basically the logic. In fact, there are 3 different principles in the Nyaya Shastra. If you go to Nyaya Shastra, then you can see all these things. Kapila is given as the Nyaya Shastra, where it says that cause and effect connection should be there. Parinama Viparyaya is something that is there. So all these things are there. Whatever today you call the epistemology, that's there in the Nyaya Shastra. So such an extraordinary, wonderful way that we have given that. And Vyakarana, every bit of development of anything that comes from the Vyakarna. In fact, the way that we have the Ashtadhyayi gives us the whole idea where any word comes from. What is the basis for any word that comes? We have dhatu. From that dhatu, everything comes out. Such an extraordinary, wonderful thing. But by the way, I will just like to share one thing. Where we are to understand that, recently, in my friend's place, that he has employed 3 or 4 youngsters. They're from North India. But North or South, it's the same thing, but North India. And then casually he asked them that to give, because they're all Hindi speaking, and therefore that you give us the alphabets, Kaka, Gagha. Believe it or not, I heard the recording, believe it or not. In order you say Kaka, Gagha, Pa, Ta, Cha, Da, also Na, Nya. You don't have the order. Can you believe that? None of them, 4 of them could not give the order. My God, where we are going towards. So that means even this small little simple thing we don't, whereas there is a reason why we have this language like that. Sanskrit, why the order of letters are there is a reason behind it. Such an extraordinary, wonderful language that we have where the order and everything is there. We could not even answer. The students did not even know about that because the teachers could not tell them. We can say that the student did not know, but then actually we feel sorry for about ourselves because our generation have not given to them. So we have to take it in the missionary spirit to see that we can educate people this way. In fact, my organization, Disha Bharat, actually I started in that sense. On the TV, that there was an interview of the students, the time of this August 15th something, one day before or 2 days before that. So August 15th is coming. Yeah, what's August 15th? It's a holiday. No, but there is a national festival. Yeah, it's an independence. Somebody said Republic Day. Which is Republic Day, which is Independence Day, they don't even know. Okay, what about when did you get the freedom of the country? They don't even remember the date. And not only that, all right. Today, who is the Prime Minister? They could say about Prime Minister because Prime Minister's name comes. But who is other number? Nobody knows about that. Somebody was saying that, Prime Minister is their own this thing, MLA. His name is Prime Minister because he knows only that MLA's name. And then people used to make fun out of it. Okay. Another thing is when the Rama, who are the brothers of Rama? Oh, Rama has 5 brothers. Who are the 5 brothers? Rama is one, and then Bhima is another one. I like that. And then people are making fun of it. I couldn't stand that. I said, I should blame myself because we are not giving. When I thought that way, then I said, I gathered this group people, and there was already thinking going on. We should start Disha Bharat. We give a value education to the people about our culture, about our country, and about ourselves.
My generation do not know. Many people come for
Yeah,
doll display Gombe.
right.
They ask me, how do I know who is Rama and Krishna? Can
Yes.
you please tell my kids? First I said,
Yeah.
why don't you come to the class?
That's very, very important. That I'm so glad that every year you are doing this doll show and you almost do it for about 6 days, 7 days, 10 days, something like that. How many people at least come there, see that the doll of Krishna is there, doll of this Shiva is there, and these things are there. Explain about them so that people will come to know. Unless until you all do that, we cannot save the next generation from this.
Yes.
So this is what basically the lack of knowledge, because basically this country has never engaged this kind of thing. The amount of literature that it is so much. In order to make this literature available to the people, in between, sometime back, actually this literature, 3,000 years ago, this literature was lost. Only the rituals were there, people were holding on to the rituals, that was important. The literature was not forgotten. That is the time when Shankara came. He wanted to revive this whole literature. Look at the man, 7-year-old boy, between 7 and 8 years. He has written the whole commentary on Bhagavad Gita. By 10 years, he has already completed the Upanishads. And then he wanted to establish this particular culture, literature of this culture. So first thing is the Vedas. He wanted to divide these Vedas. Therefore, he created 4 Shankar Mathas, the 4 corners of the country. And every Matha is given that Mahavakya of that particular Veda, and then these Vedas. Like, for example, Rig Veda at one place, Yajur Veda at one place, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda. And then they were in charge of that, made them in charge of that. Come on, you take this Veda forward, all the knowledge in the Veda. Because unless until you religiously, rigorously do it, you cannot bring it up. So he did that. Apart from these Vedas, he said that, apart from that, the Vedas is extraordinary, wonderful knowledge. But it has got to the other levels. Therefore, he created what is called as the hill people also should receive this knowledge. The river people also, the ocean people also should receive knowledge. So therefore, that means the people who are in the fisher community, they should receive the knowledge. And the bills and the hills should receive the knowledge. He created all these various systems that are there. Like, for example, you have got this Sagaras, and then the Giri Sampradaya, Sagara Sampradaya. So he made the head of those people. And then he has given this knowledge so that they take it to their people in their own language. Because whatever that is given in the Shankaracharya and the Shankarapita, it will go to the fishermen. They cannot understand it. So therefore, Sagara Sampradaya is there, which can communicate with them. So like that, he created all these things to the society. We should have it. But then there are people who do not belong to society. They are in the forest. That's why Shankara thought about it. He wanted to create groups so that they will also get the benefit. That's how he created what is called as in the tribal area, in the tribal area, in the forest area, he created what is called as Naga Sampradaya, Siddha Sampradaya. These are all the people that are there in this. And they don't have to follow the laws and rules that are there in the society, but they're in the forest. But then even though they're in the forest, they should not be deprived of this particular culture. And this culture is so great, their impression about this culture was so great. When the Mughals came, actually, the whole Nagas actually stopped them at one place. They're given their life to stop them, to protect this particular culture. All these stories are there, particularly I think this happened in the Nagas, in the case of Northeast. That's why Northeast, so much of invasion has never taken place, because these Nagas have stopped them.
Later on,
Sorry?
Later.
to the British.
Yeah.
They did it.
Right. So these are all the things. But then we have temples, we have temple culture, that's there. So in fact, unfortunately, what people created Shankaracharya is Advaita Acharya.
Mm.
Advaita is a philosophy that's there, but he is not Advaita Acharya that way. But he wanted to give this knowledge to and Dvaita also he wanted to so therefore that he created all these stutis. He created Shanmatacharya. That means to say 6 different matas. The followers of Vishnu, followers of Shiva, followers of Ganesha, all these things. He created the stotras for that, and the temples he visited. Annapurna Devi, he has written the stotras for Annapurna. So he created all that kind of thing. He wanted to revive this whole culture. How many different ways that he helped to create this culture. Because of that, today we have all these Upanishads and Vedas. Otherwise, we would have lost it. And with all those things, he started at 7-8-year-old until about 33 years, and he died. He lost. Then all this invasion has taken place. Muslims have come. British have come. Ultimately, when what happened is in 1857 is the time when the Britishers defeated us. There was a way that they defeated this Jhansi election. After that, they brought, until that time, there was a East India Company that became British. You must remember, we call it as only Sipahi movement. It's not Sipahi movement, because British were jolted in such a way that the British government is involved in this particular. At that time only the Viceroy culture came. Until that time, East India Company now then started ruling this. If that change has to occur, that means what must be the extraordinary thing. At that time, Macaulay was brought here, and Macaulay is the person who said that this culture is so rigid. You cannot change it unless until you de-identify this knowledge from this culture. Otherwise, everywhere this knowledge is there. That's what Shankara has done it. All the local saints have done it. So therefore, that it has to be discussed. That's the reason why Max Muller came and said that Vedas come from the Central Asia. It doesn't belong to us. Again, destabilizing this particular culture. Even till today, a lot of people are there who believe in that kind of a thing. And people who belong to this place is without any culture. And they are Dravids. They are pushed down towards the south. So all the Dravids, which are supposed to be native, Aryans are coming from outside, that they have this knowledge. But the very simple fact is that anybody who is knowledgeable will come in, we call them as Arya. Arya is irrespectable, not coming from anywhere outside. If anybody has brought this knowledge from outside, you should have that knowledge in that place where it comes from. That's not there. In Euphrates Tigris River area, you don't find any knowledge, not even 0.01% semblance of this knowledge. So therefore, it is all a propaganda that created to see that how they destabilize. Even till today, there are people who want to destabilize this. Why they want to destabilize is that they see that these two religions, Abrahamic religions came, destabilized whatever the ancient religions were there in that place. Like paganism was there, like Incas were there, Americans were there, and the latest is the whole of Native American culture was there. Destroyed with the help of this thing. They want to do the same thing with India. That's why continuous effort is going on to see that how to destabilize this. But you should know one thing, that these fundamental questions are not asked in any other religion, any other culture. It's only in this culture that we ask these questions. That's the reason if you want to find out answer for this, you have to go to this culture. But in this culture also, there are so much of literature is there. Bhagavad Gita is there. And then apart from that, another very important idea, which I'll come later because it's already time. So next class, I will talk about it. Another very important aspect is that this extraordinary, wonderful knowledge that is there in the Vedas, how to bring it to the common man. Common man can understand in form of stories, in form of various Puranas. So that's how Ashtadasha Puranas are created. And that's an extraordinary, wonderful literature that they have done it. Then we need to understand the difference between these Ashtadasha Puranas and then Ramayana, Bharatam. These are the two separate things that are there. Puranas are there. All these things will give us the idea about this particular culture that goes into the depth of these things. Now, to understand about the creation of these Vedas and Puranas, you should try to understand a bit of idea of whatever that is given in the Mandukya Upanishad. In Mandukya Upanishad, the one Upanishad will discuss about the wakeful, dream, and deep sleep state. This is what is called as Avasthatraya. Every Upanishad has given an extraordinary, wonderful ideas in so many various. Like Panchakosha Viveka is something which is given in Taittiriya Upanishad. Avasthatraya is given in the case of Mandukya Upanishad. Once we understand thoroughly about the discussion that went on in Mandukya Upanishad, then we understand the place of these Puranas. In what way the Puranas are different from mythology. This is not mythology, but this is Purana. We don't have equivalent word in English. We should call that as Puranas only. We should not translate into English because some Englishman has translated mythology. We also call it as mythology.
Because it's Greek mythology.
Yeah, Greek mythology.
Mythology.
Yeah, Roman mythology. This is not mythology. And so this is what we need to understand. That there are people who have written that mythological stories to convey some message in the Greek and all that. Like for example, Alberto Camus has written a lot of literature on that in the West. And then it's there, and we know about that, what are the stories that are there. But they have some value. Wonderful. But then our Indian philosophy is something which is extraordinary. We have not only written this Puranas, but we brought this Puranas into the day-to-day. For that purpose, we have done these Puranas. Look into that in the next class when we do it. I will start about the Itihasa and Purana in the next class. After that, possibly I'll take up the question of why
Then
Dharma.
all the one by one ritual and all that.
On that, huh?
You told, why the bindi and the shraddham, all those also you will talk.
Yeah. Then all these practices, why we have all these practices, Shraddha Karma, this and that, various activities we are doing, all those things come into the picture. Yes, some people have questions.
Is there
Yeah,
anyone
here.
wanting to ask anything?
It's
No.
popping up
No,
somewhere.
that is not that. That
Oh,
is
okay.
mail.
You can unmute and ask the question, Shastriji and Minal. Or you can write down in the chat.
Yes, you can unmute Neenalji.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to ask that I have heard that even now these Puranas and all are tempered. I mean the Muslims are trying to edit those things because right from there we are having these knowledge. So
Ah.
that is also being done. And another question is realization attained without Chitta Shuddhi? I mean, Ravana was a realized soul, Muhammad was a realized soul, is what I have heard. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. The basic question she's asking is, Puranas are being tampered by the Muslims and all that. And another thing is that Chitta Shuddhi is required for the realization. In fact, Manal, that's a very important question. I would like to talk about this realization. When we go into that detail, you will see that it is not one stage, and how various stages are there where somebody can get caught up in between. Patanjali has given us very clearly about the picture of that, and we have beautiful examples in the Puranas to show how these things will be affected. I'm glad you asked that question. If I miss it in the one of those few classes, please let me know. Once again, I will definitely answer that question because it's a very important question.
Yeah.
It answers a lot of other things which are there now in the society today.
Sir, question.
Yeah.
A
Shastriji.
few thoughts and a question also.
Yeah.
I don't know, mixed with both. This Max Muller or whoever Macaulay, they all went on telling that it all came from Central Asia and all that.
Yes.
But have they ever answered why did it come there to the eastern side? Why did it not go to Europe?
See, the question is, why did it come to East? Why did it not go to Europe? That they have answered actually. Max Muller has given the whole knowledge that is developed. He said that two branches of knowledge emerged out of it. And the knowledge about the material world, that's the science, has gone into the West. And knowledge about this Vedas have gone to the East. But then Max Muller did not know that even the material world knowledge is there in the Vedas.
Correct.
He did not realize that.
Yeah.
So that is our Ramdev Shastri, that is David Frawley. He countered that.
Okay.
And even our Rajaram from Bangalore is no more. But he also countered that we have enough amount of evidences to show that material knowledge also there in this culture. So only thing is difference, I tell you, the way that the West developed the whole material science is one way of thinking, and it is not compatible to the way that we had the material thinking. That's the reason why a lot of things we could not interpret from our language. Once we do it, like for example, let me give you a very simple example where the difference comes. See, we went by the natural nature. By nature, actually, when you look at it, the sphere is the natural surface. Circle is the natural form. Straight line is never existing. Straight line is only approximation.
Correct.
So the whole of mathematics India developed from the ancient times, from the time of Aryabhatta and all that. It was based on the circle and sphere. We never had the spy business. I mean, of course, we had spy restaurants and all that, but not the spy business in mathematics. But West, they started the whole thing on the linear math. And the moment circle came, they were in trouble. That's why they introduced the pi. I call it as trouble because pi is an indeterminate number.
Yes.
If you take a small circle,
Yes.
it gives a different meaning.
Yeah.
Bigger circle gives a different meaning. See,
Yeah.
that's why they are. I wish one day people will turn to Indian Sanathana Dharma way, convert the whole math into a circular sphere math. Then the world will be different.
Yeah, that takes people to understand the Vedic mathematics in the first place.
Yeah, and mathematics, we have to understand from the Vedic point of view. Today, there are
Yes.
people who are giving Vedic mathematics from the Western mathematics point of view.
Correct. That's right. Again, to teach Vedic mathematics, they are using the Western mathematics. That's not the right way to do it.
To teach the Vedic mathematics, they are using the Western mathematics model. These days, the course of Vedic mathematics
Yes,
going on
now
everywhere.
people are-
But it is from the
Yeah.
Western mathematics model that they are teaching. See,
Yeah, and just an add-on to what Minalji was telling about the other religions are trying to use the Hindu things one. I've been watching some of the churches. They're using agarbatti and mangalarti to Jesus, which is never it is never a ritual. And more recently, I saw that they have started doing Aksharabhyasa in churches. When it started. So they're they are trying to make Hindus convert it to say, hey, we also have this particular system in us. And nobody seems to be questioning that.
So, Shastriji's question is that the Mrinal's question was that they are trying to influence Christians and Muslims, trying to influence it and overpower Hinduism. But then Shastriji says, these days you can see that in the church also that they have things like that which are there in the Indian culture and all that. So they started that. So that we'll also do the same thing. So therefore Hindus to Christian.
And I'm afraid later they will say that Hindus learned from us.
So, later on they say that Hindus learn from us. It will never happen because basically the depth of Hindu culture is there so much that just only cosmetic way that they cannot, just having a stuff does not give you the mantras.
Yes.
So definitely but actually you see that if they do a little bit, then they will be going into the danger because that hundreds of people go to the church where that they are imitating these things. Naturally, that will give them an incentive to come to our Hare Krishna temple because the whole culture is there here. That's why you see that whole West is running towards Hindu culture. Have Hare Krishna and various other. Okay, look at the way that Swaminarayan temple. So everything now actually, thanks to these people that Muslims and Christians, that they are creating all kinds of upheaval in Europe. So let them fight so that they know one thing, that when they have to come to peace, only this culture that they have the peace is our Hindu culture.
Yes.
So it will come back to this culture that is there. But we should find answer to our questions.
Correct.
That's what we need to do.
Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
thanks a lot. Thank you. I'm so glad that all of you are here.
Yeah.
Again, knew this thing.
Virtual and real.
Yeah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.